let's get started with map elements. And what we've done every patent is put into a single category, even though they could in many cases be put in multiple categories. We've chosen the best category, but you will see some where you think, oh, why wasn't that one in the map elements category? These map elements specifically tend to be applicable to every single category, but the ones we're going to look at here are the basis for the map element categories. Okay, so rather than looking at a single slide for every problem statement and solution statement, we've trying to put them all together here in a clearer picture. So here with the map elements, we have, I think, a dozen or so patents that fall into this category. And let's kind of go through the list here. So in the map elements, the first thing they have is a problem to solve is how do I update the map data? And how do I update the map data specifically at an intersection? And so you can take a look here, the problem and solution statements. How do I determine whether to update the map data with additional route information? I use quality control statistics to determine whether the published additional route features should be added to the map. More specifically, at that roadway intersection, I compare sensor data to map data to determine the location of intersection elements. And then we go on with our additional map elements. How do I estimate lane boundaries using prior maps? I compare sense data to prior map information in order to identify map reference points and calculate a confidence buffer in those data points. How do I also use this map data to correct my current heading? I combine map data with endpoints from an inertial navigation system, including a gradient magnitude image with blurred representations to determine a heading correction. And then these bottom two problems both are with regards to what happens when I am on an overpass versus an underpass. The map will overlay itself. How do I know which elevation level I'm at? One has the solution of using relative elevation of two data points to associate with either the overpass or underpass. The other has two different map regions that overlap each other, one corresponding to the overpass, the other to the underpass. Here's our second group of map element patents. What happens if I have inadequate map data? I need to obtain more sensory data that detects an inadequacy in the map data as compared to sensor data. And in response to that, control the vehicle in a second autonomous mode that might be more sensor-based as opposed to more map-based. How do I locate road elements? I estimate an object or vehicle position using a 2D image of the environment to identify the object, and then I use a previously stored 3D location of reference points to determine the actual location of the object. Let's see here, how to identify a location on a road. Identify a first location at a first time and a second location at a second time, each with a variance, and then determine a third data estimate of that location. So there's a lot of, once again, software type things going on here. The actual patent claims itself will then have some sort of a statement along the lines of them navigating along according to that algorithm. These last two in this map elements category, assessing the map validity. How do I detect a change in a lane? Meaning that the map data tells me that the lane is open, but my sensors tell me that something is stopping me from continuing down this lane. Detect a lane line, including coordinates from a map related to a feature that's been tagged as a curve. Divide the lane into segments and change the position of the two segments and compute a value that indicates the likelihood that the lane marker has changed. And last but not least, how to assess the map validity, determine whether a map trajectory is valid based on sensed information to confirm it. Okay, so that is the map elements category. And then for each of these, I'll be sending these slides out for you. You'll be able to take a look at each one individually. As you can see, my problem and solution statements are simple, digestible, one sentence in length, but the actual invention is a very long sentence that you can dig deeply into and decide whether they've solved the right problem and whether they've solved it in the right way. And that is our first section. Let me just quickly check if we have any questions here. Feel free to shoot a question. There's a little text panel that you can ask questions in. Okay, let's proceed. So kind of looking at these images, here's the use of prior maps for estimation of lane boundaries. Some of these images are helpful and some are not. Here's the laser data for telling if I'm on the underpass versus the overpass. Here's the underpass versus overpass using warp zones. So that sounds interesting. Just using that term sounds interesting automatically. Okay, now we're on to traffic elements.